It is destroying the literacy of our children, destroying their religion and morality. The American brain is being dumbed down at an alarming rate. And when you see the once mighty General Motors down on its knees, transformed into a government-owned dwarf, you know that the America we grew up in no longer exists. And who knows what will become of the once mighty dollar with trillion-dollar deficits. But never underestimate the power of America to reassert its basic love of individual freedom. One of the good things to come out of the last election was the creation of the Campaign for Liberty, started by Ron Paul and those millions of young Americans who voted for him and want to bring constitutional government back to America. This is a campaign that Birchers can wholeheartedly support. But make no mistake about it. The only real solution to the education problem is to get the government out of it. And the fastest way to do that is to get the children out of the government schools. That is why I want to get Is Public Education Necessary and NEA, Trojan Horse in American Education, back into print. All of those eager young members of the Campaign for Liberty must realize that we have to get the government out of the education business for one very simple reason. Government monopoly education is totally incompatible with the principles of a free society. We all know that monopolies are bad, but an educational monopoly is particularly bad because it must rely on government force for its existence. Property owners are forced to pay taxes to pay for the local school system, regardless of whether or not they use it. Monopolies do not reflect market values because the consumer must pay whatever prices they charge. And they create among millions of educators a vested interest in maintaining and expanding this huge river of taxpayer cash flow, and it's larger than even the Defense Department. Above all, monopolies attract lovers of power rather than lovers of efficiency. They also create artificial values, such as multiculturalism and affirmative action, which the consumer must pay for. And of course, they hate educational freedom and would like nothing better than to shut down homeschoolers. All attempts to reform the system have resulted in even greater failure. But what may be failure to us is success to them. For example, the billions of dollars the federal government has poured into compensatory education, Title I, since 1965, has resulted in lower SAT scores and more illiteracy, not less. But it has also created thousands of Title I teachers who need continued educational failure to justify their jobs. The only solution that makes sense is to privatize the entire system. Each public school could easily become a private institution run by a local board of trustees, financed by tuitions and whatever other private means the schools can conceive of. Since the local community would be relieved of paying for the schools, the tuitions of poor children could be paid by a town foundation set up for that purpose. Privatization would lower property taxes so that taxpayers could use their money in more productive ways. The cost of education would decline dramatically by eliminating the unionized bureaucracies that now govern state and town systems. Free competition among schools would force them to end the dumbing down process and strive for real intellectual development. Privatization would eliminate the cultural and religious conflicts that now plague the schools. It would also open a whole new field for free enterprise, taking advantage of all the great technological advances of the last 50 years. It would also improve the lives of children by making them literate and safeguarding their moral and spiritual well-being. But most of all, privatization would represent a sharp rebuke to the philosophy of statism and therefore depoliticize education. The most compelling reason why we must get the children out is because public education has become a criminal enterprise. Deliberately dumbing down our children is a crime. Performing non-surgical prefrontal lobotomies on our kids is a crime. Our educators are also guilty of drug pushing, forcing 6 million children to take powerful, mind-altering drugs as so-called cures for ADD and ADHD. Some of these drugs taken over several years have actually led to the sudden death of some teenagers on the playing fields. The reason? Some of these drugs contract blood flow to the heart and cause cardiac arrest. Another criminal activity which contributes to the delinquency of minors is exposing children from kindergarten onward to sexual perversion in the name of lifestyle diversity. That certainly is a form of moral child molestation. The schools also deliberately undermine the religious beliefs of the students, destroying their belief in biblical morality. I could go on and on making my case, but you and I know that the solution is simple. Get the government out of education. Of course, it won't be easy. Our government in Washington has been hijacked by these socialist retrogrades who are out to destroy everything that has made America the greatest, freest, and richest nation on earth. How could this be? How could this happen? What is God trying to tell us? It became clear to me that the only sure way to stop this wholesale theft of our future is to get American children out of the hands of government schooling. There is a national organization, the Separation of School and State Alliance, founded by the late Marshall Fritz, that ought to have the support of everyone here. This must become part of the campaign for liberty, part of this growing crusade to restore constitutional government, economic and educational freedom to our beloved country. Thank you very much.
The Council on Foreign Relations. It's probably been the bestseller for the John Birch Society for